afternoon, and welcome to our new webinar series, Securing the Modern Workplace, Strategies for Managing Compliance and Security Threats. My name is Domenica Lechopa from Claro Enterprise Solutions, and I'll be your host today. A big thank you to all of you for taking the time to join us. It's great to see such interest in understanding and addressing the challenges of today's workplace. Before we dive in, let's go over some quick housekeeping items. All attendees will remain muted throughout the session, but we encourage you to participate by typing your questions in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat and will address your questions during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. We will also send you a recording at the end of the session so you can revisit the content or share it with your teams. Thank you. Now on to the next slide. It's my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Jairo Sarmiento.
Thank you, Domi.
Jairo brings extensive expertise in cloud services. Jairo, welcome. We're excited to have you and share your insights with us today.
Thank you so much, Domi. Domi, I'm going to call you Domi instead of Domenica.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'd like to thank everyone for joining this the Securing the Modern Workplace webinar today. And also for giving us the opportunity to show how Claro Enterprise Solutions here we actually address data security and compliance and all the threats within the collaboration suite, specifically M365 we're going to be talking about today. So again, my name is Jairo Sarmiento. I'm a cloud solutions architect here with Claro. So Dome, I give you the stage here so you can start.
Thank you. Okay, next slide, we'll have a quick agenda overview. So here's a quick look at what we'll be covering in today's session. We'll discuss trends in the modern workplace. We'll discuss securing your Microsoft 365 journey, how organizations prioritize risk nowadays, collaboration security management, risk assessment, real-world findings, and our cyber-physical convergence approach. It's going to be a packed and insightful session, so let's get started. The workplace has transformed dramatically in recent years, specifically after COVID. Remote and hybrid work models are now the norm, and technology has become the backbone of how we collaborate, communicate, and deliver results. But what exactly defines the modern workplace? It's an environment built on three key pillars. The first one is scalability. With cloud-based services like Microsoft 365, businesses can grow without the constraints of physical infrastructure. Next, we have flexibility. By empowering teams to work seamlessly from anywhere on any device. And finally, we have collaboration by enabling teams to connect, share, and innovate in real time, no matter where they are. While these elements are the foundation of a thriving modern workplace, they also introduce new challenges and risks, particularly in security. Now, in the next slide, we'll talk about the elephant in the room, the security challenge. As businesses adopt flexible cloud-based tools, the risks of data breaches, specifically compliance violations and cyber attacks, increase. Employees are working on multiple devices across different locations, generating and sharing great amounts of data. Here are some statistics that highlight this specific challenge. 60% of IT teams are unaware of data exposure in their Microsoft 365 environment. This lack of visibility leaves organizations very vulnerable to attacks. Next, we have 71% of companies admit sensitive data is regularly shared through tools like Microsoft Teams. The convenience of collaboration can sometimes come at a huge cost. And also 92% of security incidents are unintentional. Human error remains the leading cause of data breaches. Organizations have thousands of sensitive items scattered across Microsoft 365. And managing and securing this data is no small task. The next slide will have a few questions for you. And before we move forward, we'd like to hear your responses. So please answer the following question in the chat with a yes or no answer. The first question is your modern workplace based on Microsoft 365? You can type yes or no in the chat and we'll read those later. Thank you. We'll just give a few seconds.
Do you?
All right.
Dome, do you use M365?
Absolutely. Specifically, Microsoft Teams is the tool that I'm in constant communication and use every day.
Interesting. Okay.
All right. Next question. On the next slide. Do you think you have full visibility of your Microsoft 365 environment? Again, yes or no. Now, this is an interesting question because usually we would think yes, because we have all of our data there and we can see everything that we're working on, content, but you'll be surprised with the reality. And
Right.
we'll dig deeper about that webinar. Okay, interesting. I'm seeing a few responses. Great. Thank you all for sharing your responses. Now I'll hand it over to Jairo, who will guide us through how Microsoft is empowering the modern workplace while addressing these challenges. Jairo, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Sounds good here. Do we have the results of the poll, or let me see? I didn't see them.
We do.
Yeah.
So the majority, the first question is yes, and the second one, not sure.
Not sure. Interesting. Interesting. I was gonna say that I see a trend in the answers because that's what we usually get. I get, yes, I totally have visibility on everything that happens there, and my IT team actually does have visibility. But not sure is actually even better, right? Is we don't know what we don't know, pretty much. So that trend that I was mentioning is just with different companies. Well, with different companies in working in data security for years, I've encountered that they do believe that everything is secure because they work with Microsoft directly, right? And Microsoft, as you can see here, has made possible collaboration and easy collaboration, and that's great, the thing is, we don't have visibility on who are we sharing the data with, right? So it is a very powerful and productivity enhancing tool, and the fact that we can actually use different workloads, like in M365 to get things done. But also, we need to collaborate with other people in real time. We need to collaborate with external users, yeah? And then internally we can collaborate with them in real time in a document or whatever. But like when you're actually sharing data with in a team where you don't have guardrails, you're actually exposing that data that you have in that specific team or SharePoint site or OneDrive to external users that might get a hold of it and view the information that you have in there. So the reality is that this modern workplace idea is amazing. Allow us to go ahead and share that data and to work better efficiently. But also it's becoming a challenge for IT to be responsible of and to be able to manage the security of all that data that is being shared, right? And then, as a matter of fact, Microsoft actually strongly suggests any companies to secure their environment with solutions like backup and also with collaboration security, right? Now, let's go to the next slide here just for a sec, right? And then let's think about how can you secure all the collaboration. I mentioned before that Microsoft is very laser focused on how to make it easy for the users to get work done and to be able to collaborate and to share data. And as a matter of fact, if you look at your PowerPoint or my PowerPoint now at this point, I can go ahead and see a share button there that you can drop down menu and I can share it with anyone that I want, right? Unless I have some type of governance within my tenant, right? So the thing with sharing that, that data or this PowerPoint presentation or that Word document that you have there or that Excel document that you have there is that you might be sharing the data externally without even knowing, right? And the visibility that the IT managers, in this case, is little to none, pretty much. So they need to actually go through a lot of different reports and permissions to be able to understand, what's happening, who has access to what within an organization, what type of information they're accessing. Is that data sensitive? Do they contain that information contains maybe credit card numbers or social security numbers or I don't know, bank account numbers, personal information that you wouldn't like to be out there, things like that. So the thing is, to be able to go ahead and read one of those reports, DLP reports, which they are available in the IM365, you're going to have to not only open that report, but you're going to have to correlate it with a bunch of different reports, for audit activity reports, and a bunch of different reports for all the different workloads you have there: Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, Exchange, etc. And only then you're going to be able to correlate the data and find out, the story, what's happening in your environment. So the first thing that we need to do is just identify what the problem was. What is the problem? Do we have a problem, first of all, right? We need to just find out if we have overexposed data, overexposed content. So maybe external users accessing my data. Do we have a disgruntled employee trying to, gather some information there and just take it to the next company or whatever, you know what I mean? Things like that. And then we need to think about what we should be worried about. What's more important? What's riskier at this point that we need to address first, right? And the thing is, we also need to make sure that we make collaboration easy for the users, because maybe we can place security and then we can lock everything down and nobody can do anything, but that's not good. That's not good for business continuity. We need to allow them to actually share data with external users as well, but we need to put some rules, some limits to that, right? So that way we're going to make collaboration easy for users, but also it's going to be easier for the IT team to manage that collaboration and that security. Let's go to the next one here. I like to start with the M365 journey. And I do like, and I'm sorry, and I apologize, I have my screens here. So if you see me looking at different screens, because I'm seeing my graphic there, right? But the M365 journey is particularly interesting because it starts with the inception of the data on an environment like M365, a collaboration suite, either from an on-prem organization. Maybe you have all the data in Exchange on-prem, SharePoint on-prem, or let's say that you don't even have that. You have only files within a file server, but you want to migrate that data into a collaboration suite like M365. One of the highlights that we have here at Claro is the ability to help you out with that. We can actually help you get into the M365 world. We can migrate you into your file shares into M365, SharePoint, OneDrive, etc., or migrate you from regular Exchange to online Exchange or M365, and that's nice. Up until that point, everything is great because we're migrating into this new thing. The problem that we have seen with customers is that they don't know that they also need to secure their M365 environment, and they need to securely proactively and also reactively. And that's when we actually help them out, right? We help them out from inception of that data into the M365 environment, but also into that journey of securing it. So the first step that we always suggest is going through setting up a backup solution, right? We can set them up, we'll set you up with a backup solution, and to make sure that you have business continuity. Because no matter how many solutions, cybersecurity solutions you have, if you don't have a backup solution that you can actually restore the data in a case of a cyber attack, a malware attack, a ransomware attack, you won't have business continuity. It's going to take you a long time to go ahead and recover from that, right? So that's kind of like the first step, right? And then we can help you out with backing up all those workloads in your collaboration suite environment. And third, or last but not least, which is the one that we're focusing today, is the monitoring and governance part, which is the collaboration security management part that we're here for. So the reactivity of the cloud backup solution is great because we can recover anytime. But then if we are doing that every single time that we get an attack, I mean, it's going to be really hard for us to, even though it's fast with the solution that we offer, and with a backup solution in general, it should be fast to go ahead and recover that data. It's really cumbersome to start to do that like 5 or 6 times a year. So you need something proactive that enables you to make sure that doesn't happen all the time. So in the worst case scenario, yes, we're going to have a reactive approach, but most of the time, our proactive approach to security is the one that is going to help us. So this solution, the collaboration suite management, collaboration security management, is going to enable us to know exactly who has access to what within the organization and what type of information they're accessing. And how do we do it? What we do is we pretty much leverage this strategy, and not that strategy of layer security. That's the one that usually companies actually do. Layered security is just you have a physical security. Physical security is like you have a watchman, you have the door, you have a physical security, like cameras. Perimeter security, you're going to have a firewall, you're going to have secure endpoints for like a DLP solution, for example, to go ahead and guard your crown jewels, your data. And that's great. That's how it should be. That's how it's been for the last few years, because we're thinking about this threat or this attacker that is trying to go ahead and go across all those different layers to be able to get a hold of the data. We think a little bit different. We think about protecting the data from the inside out, right? Because most of the attacks and most of the issues that we have with security are inside. Like we are leaving all these avenues for, risk open all the time. And I think Dome and Monica actually mentioned that at the beginning of the call. Like usually the same users within the organization are the ones that are actually leaving those doors open. Yeah. And right, and that's actually an issue. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we put a little bit of governance within the tenant, right? We make sure that, first of all, we're going to have the visibility to be able to know exactly what's happening, who has access to what, and what type of information they're accessing. Remember that, and then also we're going to be able to take action. We can go ahead and take action, and then say prevent, say stop a link, an external link that was sent a long time ago, and then just go ahead and stop it, completely. Remove completely that link, because that's what's happening usually. Usually we share data through links, with external users, internal users, and those links, in some cases, if you don't have governance within the tenant, then you don't have an expiration date for that link. If you have an expiration date for that link, that means that link is just waiting there, for somebody to get a hold of that link and the data that is in that link, and just find out if they have credit cards numbers or social security numbers or any type of sensitive data in there. So let's go to the next one here. And what are the invisible threats in Microsoft 365? They're not that invisible, but yeah, in some cases we're not aware of those, right? Potential data breaches, for example, the first one here, the combination of poor data governance and the numerous access points creates an environment ready for data breaches. So basically you're allowing users to create teams in OneDrives and all kinds of workloads with no restrictions. That's an issue, right?
And to one quick comment, not only through link sharing, but also content shared via email. Actually, I have a very alarming statistic that 85% of organizations using Microsoft 365 have suffered email data breaches in the past year. So that is very common to see, and it's an alarming statistic.
Yeah, and one of the things, the issues with that is that, again, we always think that Microsoft is going to cover us. That Microsoft is going to protect us because it's their collaboration suite and they're offering us that. The reality, at the end, and like I said at the beginning, is that they encourage users to use security tools, for their M365. So we need to pay attention to those things because really, it's needed. It's vulnerable. Vulnerable. I have that. I have issues with that word. Anyway, so vulnerable. Yeah, got it. So sensitive data exposure. The lack of visibility and data governance is going to lead us into sharing and exposing sensitive information without even knowing. The anonymous access, those are anonymous links that you were mentioning, Dominica. Thousands of anonymous links are circulating within the organization, and that creates potential vulnerabilities and security risks. And I'm talking about ghost users in this case. When you create all these links, you're probably allowing somebody to get into to gain access to a SharePoint site, but that inadvertently you are actually giving access to the SharePoint site that is attached to a team, right? And that person is going to have access to all the information that is being shared in that team, and the team owners and the team members are not going to have any idea that that's happening. That happens all the time. And again, risk is not only with external users, risk is inside as well, because that's the reason why we have departments that are specific to legal and all these different departments that are like specifically they have sensitive information that nobody else in the organization should actually see or handle, right? Financial implications, non-compliance with rules and regulations like GDPR, CCPA, for example, in California, can result in significant financial losses, and also damage to reputation. This is an example that didn't damage their reputation, but they lost a lot of money. Is Facebook in 2018? They lost $20 million because of GDPR, because they were infringing laws of GDPR in Europe. And those things are things that we need to take in consideration for small companies. I mean, for Facebook, $20 million is easy, but for a company that is trying to to grow, that would be really, really hard to go ahead and pay a penalty that high. Important one is the uncontrolled spread of data, the data sprawl. And that's what I was talking about when I was saying that people in the users in our organization, they are just creating teams and they're creating SharePoint site workloads in general without having certain guardrails, right? They can create any teams, any team channels, and if they have the ability to do that, then our sorry about that. In this specific case, the larger the area that you have to take care of, the larger the area that you have to secure, the most difficult it's going to be, right? So important that you have that governance in place so you don't have this type of issues. Well, I'm gonna go and further. Here is This is important, right? How do organizations prioritize risks today? We're going to go ahead and take a look at this here, and how today we can go ahead and, with a permissions report, for example, right? We can go ahead and find out what type of who is accessing some specific type of data. You know, with audit activity reports, where we can find out if there's something that they shouldn't be doing, right, within the tenant. And with the DLP report, we can find out, you know, if there's sensitive data that is being accessed. DLP report, fortunately, we have that from Microsoft. In some cases, when we have E3 and E5 licenses, and we can actually view those reports. But if we don't have access to that. So that's a limitation that you have with, you know, with Microsoft there. Of course, you need to pay more to be able to access those. But the reality is that behind the scenes, that data is still being tagged, right? All the credit card numbers, there's an algorithm that actually just go ahead and checks for those different sensitive types, they're called. And that information is available, of course, for you, for your tenant, it's available. So if you have admin access, you're going to be able to access those. And if you have a solution that enables you to do that, to gather that information, through APIs, you're going to be able to do that. We do that for you, you know, at this point. Our team has tools that are going to enable them to be able to get a hold of that DLP data that Microsoft generates, and we're going to be able to correlate that data with all those audit reports and permission reports. But the way the companies do it now is individually. If they have an analyst or one person, if it's not a small business company, or if it's a business, I'm sorry, or if it's a mid-size, I would say, and they have a couple of analysts, they're going to have to go through all these reports, and there are like quite a few actually, to be able to find out exactly what's happening within the organization, right? And there are 12 plus, only to have visibility of what's happening, right? But on top of that, if they want to make a decision and they want to have some policies, create some policies to have a little bit of governance within the tenant, then there's another set of these consoles and platforms that they need to access. So that is a lot of work. That is a lot of work, right? Because it's not only about like being an expert in each one of these consoles or platforms, but also have the ability to correlate the data and come up with a story, you know, with that correlation. So now let me go ahead and show you something a little bit different, right? The way we do it, right? So this is how I apologize. Before I show you the way we do it, I want to show you how an organization actually would do it, you know, without our support in this case. You know, they'll go through a permissions report, one of those reports that you saw in the past, and then they're going to find out that there's a user that is external, that her name is Claudia, that has access to a specific team. Right, that's the only information they're going to be able to get from that report. They need to jump into another report to find out, you know, that Claudia or somebody specifically has access a document, a specific document 10 times in the past month. And then at the end, they're going to go through the DLP report to find out that the team actually contains sensitive information. But their work is not done. They still have to correlate the data to be able to find out that Claudia is an external user and has access to confidential information, and she has accessed that data 10 times in the past month. Now multiply this by the number of users that you have in the organization, right? By the number of workloads that they're currently using. This is just an example with Teams. That's it, right? But now the time that it takes you to go ahead and find this out, you know, investigation becomes really cumbersome and long. What if we do something different? What if instead of just using that analyst, you know, or multiple analysts that are experts in each one of the workloads, why don't we just go ahead and say that our team is going to be able to say Claudia is an external user that has access to confidential information and has access that data 10 times in the past month, without going through all that, going through all those different workloads, no, all those different interfaces, but with tools that are going to allow our team to go ahead and simplify that search and be able to go ahead and come up with that conclusion. But not only that, they're going to be able to be proactive right away, and they're going to be able to restrict Claudia's access, with a policy that is going to block external users like Claudia from sensitive teams. So now we are not just having visibility in a matter of seconds, right? But we are suggesting you, hey, we need to go ahead and put something in place to restrict, external use access to these specific teams because they contain sensitive information, right? And they can even go further and say, hey, Michael, with his internal user that granted access to Claudia to this specific file, But what we're doing now is we're reverting that access that we gave to Claudia, and we're going to send Michael a notification as to why. And we can even go further and say, like, Michael, we're not going to give you permissions to go ahead and do that anymore. You can't really give access to any external users at all. That's going to simplify your IT department's work and your security department's work, right? Because now we're going to be able to be proactive, and also the investigations are going to take way less than they are currently taking. And what we do with what we offer with collaboration security management, it's pretty much a set of tools, but driven by a team. Driven by a team that are going to find out, they're going to prioritize risk within your tenant, and they're going to make sure that your environment is safe, and then all the data, the sensitive data that you have is secure, and is not, being accessed by somebody that it shouldn't be accessed. Now, one important thing is let's think of how difficult are ISO certifications and also security team audits, right? An audit report, can see if bad behavior has occurred, but a lot of information to process if you still need to correlate that data with something else. And an ISO certification, if they see that, they see that you have enough visibility and control over your tenant, it's not going to probably pass that. The same thing with the security team audits as well. So what they do is they ask for the ability to generate reports, do security searches. They ask where and how the sensitive data is being shared. Do we have visibility on of that what's happening? And they also need validation that your collaboration suite is secure. So how do you do that if your analysts need to go through like all these different platforms to find information and the correlation is human driven? How long is that going to take? That's going to be different to show that than if you show it that it's automated, right? Like we do have it. Let's go to the next one. And we can actually ask questions in the meantime. I know we're gonna have a Q&A session at the end, but it would be nice if you have any doubts, any questions, you can actually ask them.
You can start typing your questions in the chat, and we'll read them in the Q&A session. Thank you.
All right, so how it works, how we actually provide this service. Basically, the first thing is just to know what's happening within your M365 tenant with your M365 collaboration suite. We need to have an initial conversation to understand your business, data sensitivity, and which regulations you need to follow or you need to be compliant with, which permissions, etc. The second part would be, with your approval, we'll conduct what we call an initial risk assessment, right? That's one thing that we're gonna, at the end, we're gonna offer that as well. And that's going to be for all your M365 workloads. Now that way we're going to be understanding what is the risk state of the contents of the data that you have there. The third step would be like present the remediation package. We're going to be presenting the findings of that assessment, and we're going to analyze the results. We're going to have a team of experts that is going to create that remediation plan that is going to be customized specifically for any any type of business that you have. And we are going to work with you to go ahead and define the sensitivity of your data, the risk that you're exposed to, etc. And all those configurations that you need to have in place to be able to be compliant with specific rules and regulations and have a secure MT65 environment. One thing that this last but not least, I would say, is that we will deploy any configurations with our managed services team. That's another service that we have, and we have a managed collaboration suite that will make sure that your environment stays safe and is properly configured. So now it's not only about having visibility and reacting to any of those risks, but also to being proactive and creating policies for you, like anytime that you need it, because data is something that's constantly changing, right? And users are being added all the time, and then you need to make sure that you are also securing your environment as it's growing as well. This is an example of little example of how a risk assessment actually looks, or it's going to look. As you see, we have we're going to determine risk based on two things: exposure and sensitivity. Right? That way, we're going to know what's more important, what's riskier, so we can start working on that specifically. Our team is going to be able to identify where those items that are maybe sensitive data that is being accessed by people that shouldn't be accessing it. Also, the external users that are not trusted, all those anonymous links that have been sent. In some cases, we have found 5,000, 10,000 of those links in just an assessment. And also, this is not only about risk, which is the most important thing, but also about being ready for Copilot as well. So one of the things is that generative AI and the algorithms that AI actually uses, they rely on large amounts of data. See it as a Google search. And you have experience with Google in some cases when you actually find something and you don't know if it's true or not. You need to go ahead and keep searching or ask people that actually know about it. So the idea of having good data and properly classify data within the organization, having a good governance within the tenant, is going to enable you to have a good AI experience when you're using Copilot. And that's very important because everything is going AI, and you know that now if you are using Copilot for any action or anything like that, if you have something, if you don't have accurate data or accurate classification of data, then you might have problems with that as well in the future. Again, this is kind of like the reports that we're going to provide you with, all the different high risk items. You can have sensitive files within your organization, a bunch of 30,000, 40,000. We always have that, right? And at Claro, in a normal company, you have social security numbers, credit card numbers, all kinds of sensitive information. When you actually find high-risk items, it means that those specific sensitive items, sensitive files, have somebody that it shouldn't be accessing them, that has complete access to those files, and that's important to address, right? To make sure that we actually remove that access that those external users or unauthorized users have to those files. We can see here all the sensitive info types that we can actually gather. Our team can actually gather using their tools to be able to find what type of information is within the tenant. Only metadata, no data whatsoever. So you're not going to have information of credit card numbers or anything like that. The algorithm just actually reads if there's a credit card number, there's a bank account number, if there's a social security number, and then shows us, how many of those we have within a specific folder, for example. Right? So we're going to have this analysis done by platform. So this one is specifically for OneDrive, but we're going to have it for Teams, also for SharePoint, and for all these different workloads that we have. This is one of the tools that our team actually uses, and again, it enables us to use all the sensitivity definitions from Microsoft Information Protection, and enable the ones that we actually need for the company that we're working with. And if we need PII or PCI or HIPAA, all these different rules and regulations, we can actually use that, leverage that, to be able to correlate all that information that is coming from M365 and give us a more accurate idea of what's happening within the environment. These are the findings from recent assessments. As I mentioned before, we have worked with multiple verticals. Government, one of them, tech companies as well. One of the government companies actually that we help migrate to the cloud, to M365, precisely running an assessment like this. We discovered that they had 30,000 plus high-risk items in the environment, but also like around 10,000 of those links. That's a lot of information to digest at the moment. But of course, we were there to just go ahead and tell them that we could actually help them out securing the environment. This is all the information that we found, and what we did is we actually came up with a plan for them, and they went ahead and adopted the solution. So this one of the highlights, with our security for collaboration is that it's compliant with the NIST 2.0 cybersecurity framework, right? The pillars of this framework are, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And they recently added the governance part, which is great. And then we are in compliance with those, with two of the solutions that we provide for collaboration security. The one is cloud backup, which help us identify, detect, recover, and respond. And when I say respond and also recover, as because we have the ability, again, to recover from an attack, from a malware attack, a ransomware attack, but we're also able to detect a ransomware attack if it's happening, right? Using the cloud backup solution that we use, we are able to create kind of like patterns of behavior of the users, and what the algorithm does is just like if that pattern actually changes, changes because that person is usually just backing up some Excel documents, some Word documents, and all of a sudden he's starting just backing up all this, 2,000 documents that are completely encrypted, then something bad, something fishy is happening here. So it automatically triggers an alert, and we can use that alert to be able to identify that attack and then be able to recover that data, which is great. And then of course the collaboration suite management, which give us all those, it's complying with all those different pillars, but also with the governance part, which is the proactivity of being able to create policies to prevent these activities or risk from happening. All right, so we're getting. Do we have any questions, Dome?
I do see one question here.
Great.
Is the Microsoft 365 security solution you're discussing fully managed, or does it require internal IT teams to handle certain aspects? If fully managed, what level of support can organizations expect?
Great question. We do. We have a fully managed collaboration security management. Is basically what we need is your access, your permission, of course, to go ahead and connect M365 with our team's tools to be able to have that to scan all the data that you have in the different workloads, and that way they're going to be able to one, get the report that we're working for, the risk report that I mentioned before, and also be able to identify what are going to be the best policies that you need to be able to prevent whatever risk is you're having within the M365 tenant. So the answer is yes. I wouldn't say that this is managed M365 solution, because we're not managing M365 per se. We are helping you secure the environment, even though we also have management or managed services for M365. But at this point, what we do is we focus only on those specific workloads and the security of those workloads, and within certain tools, without having direct access to your M365, we're going to be able to leverage all the data from M365 and create some policies within that environment. Is that answering your question? Please let me know.
I think that was great. Thank you, Jairo.
Okay, thank you. Right. One important fact that I like to bring to this conversation is that at Claro, we are security oriented, right? And because of that, in our portfolio, we have products and services that address not only cybersecurity and cloud security and collaboration, suite security, but also physical security, right? So, but that's not the extent of it. I mean, we also make sure that those offerings have the possibility of integrating within or with each other, right? So this is a model, as you can see it there, is a model that we came up to basically identify in which cybersecurity or cyber physical security stage of evolution your company is located right now, and to see how can we help you to get to that smart stage, or even the strategic stage, which is the high one there. We we can be of help to be able to guide you in that cyber physical evolution. So I'm gonna go through it really fast. So we have the survival stage, which is the low that you see on the left side, which is most of the companies nowadays, they are in that stage. I guess little by little, I know companies are going to be adopting the cybersecurity, the cyber physical security evolution. But for now, the survival stage is what we actually have seen the most, where they have, let's say, for example, the security teams are under-resourced and they are pretty much reactive. They have limited budgets. And then we have, regarding cybersecurity, they have a basic firewall, they have an antivirus, they have anti-malware, they have simple password policies, that's all they have. And regarding physical security, what they have is just they pretty much lock their doors and basic video surveillance cameras, right? Regarding cyber physical, so the combination of both, they don't have anything in place. So that's kind of like the survival stage. And the idea is to get little by little from the tactical stage to the strategic stage. The tactical, which is kind of like the medium stage here, well, teams are going to be more proactive. The security teams are going to be more proactive, and they still lack the full integration between physical and logical. But they have, regarding cybersecurity, they have a centralized firewall, probably network monitoring, and they have endpoint protection. They have a DLP solution, and they also have cloud backup, for example, which is key. It's super important to have, and also, but in the cyber physical realm, they don't really have any management at all either. The only thing that they have is just alerting from each one of those, tools or solutions they have. The smart stage, which is kind of like the intermediate, is a more proactive posture, and that's when collaboration security actually comes in. And regarding cybersecurity, we're going to have a CM, we're going to have an MDR solution like Cloud's MDR, for example. And then we also have a cloud backup, ransomware detection, and all this good things. But what we have regarding physical, cyber physical management, it's more of an automated incident response, which elevates us from like just receiving alerts, but now we're going to have somebody that's going to be able to take action with those alerts, and we have a team that actually can do that as well. And the more the strategic stage, or the highest one, is the one that we actually we like to approach, is it's it's going to have all the benefits of all these different stages, but then we're going to add the smart, the connected cyber physical team planning. So now we're going to have not only going to be reactive, but we're going to be proactive about creating policies in place, similar to what we did with collaboration. We're going to have policies in place where our team is going to make sure that threats or attacks or things like that won't happen in the future, or make sure that we are proactive regarding security. But the idea of this is connecting the two worlds, right? The logical and also the physical world. And let me go to the next one here. So this is an approach that we developed at Claro, to provide, let's say, seamless connectivity and interaction between digital systems and also physical processes, right? At Claro, we see like anything that's related to AI, to cloud, to connectivity, and also IoT, Internet of Things, as the key enablers of cyber physical systems. So let's say, for example, IoT sensors are going to collect data from the physical world, and they need to be connected to send data to the cloud. And AI and machine learning is going to analyze the data in real time, and the integrated cyber physical system is going to go ahead and take action, whatever action is needed. Right. And I'm showing you here just the components of the solution. Well, we have AI and video analytics, which is one of the solutions that we offer. Also collaboration security, which is the one that I just went through. And then we have all this IoT asset insights, which is one of the solutions that we also offer. And how can we connect all that physical and logical world? So we have we're going to have a unified dashboard and alerts as well, having like a centralized interface dashboard that's going to be able to display all the correlated physical and cybersecurity events that we have. And we're going to be able to visualize that and show the risk in real time, and then just go ahead and recommend any actions. One of the use cases that I like to bring up, so you kind of like have an idea of how this works, is data governance for physical event correlation. So to ensure sensitivity, data to ensure that sensitive data in Microsoft 365 is tagged and protected based on location, on department, or risk level. We use our collaboration security solution, right? And then if you have any files in our research and development lab, that it could be tied to a physical access zone. So if we have our AI video analytics solution just looking at somebody that is unauthorized, it's not authorized and accessing physically to that R&D or research and development zone, and it gets detected by this AI video analytics solution, then it's going to trigger collaboration suite or collaboration security to go ahead and scan for unusual activity on linked teams or SharePoint sites, right? So that's a way for us to connect that physical world with the logical world, and we have many use cases that we have been created with different customers. It's more like on a custom base. We customize this for each one of our prospects or customers.
We have one question in the chat.
Please.
If one of the major leaks come from inside the workplace, do we have countermeasures to prevent Claro employees from leaking the data?
If one of the major leaks, could you repeat that question again, please?
If one of the, I believe, data breaches come from inside the workplace, do we have countermeasures to prevent Claro employees from leaking the data?
Yeah, so that's actually the main idea of the collaboration security suite, right? Collaboration security management. And I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go back to this graphic, which I like a lot. And it's how we protect data, how we are data centric, how we are using our data centric approach. So everything is about the data and how can we protect the data from the inside out instead of from the outside in. So if anybody from inside actually leaks information, we're going to have full visibility on what's happening. And then we can go and do a forensic investigation and then find out at what time that person actually did that, what type of data actually that person exfiltered. And then we can take action, of course. Yes, we can take action, and then we can remove permissions if it's needed, further action if it's needed. Is that answering your question? Please let me know.
I believe so. Thank you, Jairo. So we're almost at the top of the hour. We just have one last slide that will take you to a complimentary risk assessment. You just have to scan the QR code and you can enter your information, and you can request your complimentary data risk assessment for Microsoft 365. Thank you all so much for attending today. I believe this was very insightful. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Jairo.